I'm Joe Alterman, and I'm a pianist and composer from Atlanta. Clark Terry, the great trumpet player, used to say the process of learning jazz was imitate, assimilate, innovate. And I love that. And to me, I feel like what we all do is we take the parts of other musicians that we love and work that into our vocabulary. Growing up in Atlanta, I heard a lot of different kinds of music that I was really attracted to. And honestly, I didn't hear jazz until I was older. So my into music was through bluegrass. And basically what happened is I'd grow up hearing all these songs that are part of the bluegrass repertoire, but also part of the jazz repertoire. And what turned me on to jazz was not the solos, truthfully. It was really the way people like Oscar Peterson would interpret a song, a melody that I already knew. So when I hear them play something like You Are My Sunshine, it was just a song that I grew up hearing at bluegrass festivals. It would just blow my mind what a jazz person would do with a similar melody. And that was really what originally drew me to jazz. Eventually, I left Atlanta to go to college in New York. I went to NYU, and that was kind of where I began my career and my studies and everything. I was so lucky to meet so many of my piano heroes there, and I remember growing up, all I wanted to do was sound like a New York jazz piano player. But it took almost a decade of being in New York for me to realize that I'm not a New York jazz piano player. I'm a Southern jazz piano player, and that's what really makes me special. When I first met my three mentors, Les McCann, Ramsey Lewis, and Ahmad Jamal, I was so excited to learn how to play like them. Each of their messages to me was, you're never gonna play like me because we haven't lived the same life, but you've lived a cool life, so lean into that. As I started to lean into who I am and embrace the fact that I'm a Southern jazz piano player, I got very excited to move back home to Atlanta and get involved in the great music scene down here. I've had the opportunity to play in some really legendary, prestigious venues that I've always wanted to, places like the Kennedy Center, Lincoln Center, the Blue Note, Birdland. I got to open for so many of my heroes at the Blue Note. I've released 7 albums. Most recent is called Joe Alterman Plays Les McCann, Big Mo and Little Joe. That's what he calls us. I have another recent album called Solo Joe, Songs You Know. And another one that I'm really proud of, especially being back in Atlanta, is called More Cornbread. I really love how back in the day, different cities had different identifiable sounds. And I think there's something to being from Atlanta and being from the South that sometimes people hear in my music. Occasionally I'll go to New York and people who don't know I live in Atlanta will say, man, it sounds like you've been down south for a while. So to me, More Cornbread is my way of saying Southern jazz without saying Southern jazz. And eventually when I moved back to Atlanta, thankfully the opportunity came to run what was then the Atlanta Jewish Music Festival. So I run this nonprofit cultural arts series. We've changed the name to Naranana, which means to come together and sing in Hebrew. I love writing about jazz. I've written liner notes for 3 Wynton Marsalis and Jazz Lincoln Center Orchestra albums. I've written music for plays. I've scored a couple documentaries. And I've been an associate producer on 2 very special projects, one being a great Ahmad Jamal set, and one's upcoming. It's a Les McCann set. One of the difficult parts of my growing up years was dealing with obsessive compulsive disorder. That's kind of when the piano became like an extension of me. It was kind of like, you know, the piano, I'd come home from school, run to the piano, and it became the place where I could always be myself. It was never, there's nothing to fake ever, you know. So that's when I really connected with the instrument. Being at the piano is a place where I can express myself in a way that feels most comfortable to me than any other form of expression, honestly. And I'm just so drawn to it because I love being able to play 10 notes at one time. I've really kind of gotten out there in ways I never could have anticipated a few years ago, and I love it. So I don't know exactly where it's leading, but I like where we're heading, and we want to keep going in that direction. You guys got it? All right, let's go play something.